March 7th of the Thomas Assembly District to order. Please rise for the pledge. March 14th.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ronald Collins.
Here.
Brett Roach.
Here.
Mitch Stenoff.
Here.
Ron Giron.
Here.
Roland Giron. Roland Guidry.
Here.
Brian Morris.
Here.
McNeely Jones.
Here.
Keith Guidry.
Here.
And Marty Davis.
Here.
And then one.
All right. Need a motion for the meeting, to approve the minutes of the meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Mitch, second by Roland Guidry. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Let's see, the president's report, I don't have anything except, I guess to get with Mary or Amy for the ALDL meeting and coming up in May to make your arrangements with them.
Reservations are made at the hotels already, so if you have to cancel, let me know by next month.
That's the Wednesday, right? The Wednesday after?
The Wednesday, go to Wednesday, yeah, and come back on Friday.
Okay. Anyone here from the audience here to address the board? All right, we'll move to our general manager reports.
Oh, yeah, we'll start off with 5:30 feet. The number one thing is that we had some damage to the storm, we had a bunch of debris on it. Almost all of the debris is off of the levee. Most of the damage is taking place, we're trying to hurry and get all of it back in shape. The biggest parts are done. We've allowed a couple of important spots, one in the rock itself, and we have some damage on the west side levee. It's not terribly bad, but we need to get it fixed before the season starts. But we've gotten most of the repairs done, and again, most of the levee is exposed, so that now we can get into the growing season, we can get grass over the whole system. I just want to show that, when Ida came up, this is not that different from when Katrina was coming across the Gulf, attacking at about the same angle. The big difference is that right when Katrina got below the Mississippi River, the mouth of the river, it went due north. Ida did what the direction that actually Katrina was going, which was coming straight to the terrible Lafourche line. And, I keep thinking 2005, in other words, if I had to choose what happened, the way it happened, to us is the best way. Katrina would have wiped us out, we wouldn't even come close. Since Katrina, our levels are 5 feet high. If we weren't 5 feet higher for this storm, it was literally flooded. And I think that's one of the messages. Nobody can tell in that time frame whether it's going to go due north or go along its path. Too many people say, I've had some people tell me estimate as much as 50% of the people say it's out of food. But definitely 30% say. And that's way too much for Katrina. I think we got about 9% of the people on. Because that risk was there, and it would have flooded, and people would have died. We came so close to being over the top and having breaches and having maybe 7 feet, maybe even more water in people's houses. And when you think about it, if we had 50% of the people there, there's no doubt we lose hundreds of people. There's no doubt. Again, the trauma, let's say even if you don't go through that, the trauma, having water around you, you're trying to make decisions, stay in the attic and not stay in the attic. Again, when the parish says evacuate, let the legislature protect the property, that you get your body and your family up to natural high ground to avoid the storm surge. Now, you can't avoid the rain necessarily, you can't avoid straight line rains or tornadoes, but you can get away from storm surge, and that's the biggest threat. And we've been extremely lucky, we had the forum, and the director of the hurricane says that it's amazing that since 2017, we've got a high number of category 3, 4, 5 storms. We've had more than the last couple of decades combined. And the crazy thing is that we've had very little loss of life. And most of the loss of life is after the storm, when people are trying to, cut trees or do roof stuff and falling over, and heart attacks and that type of thing. So we've been extremely lucky, but I guarantee you, if water had come into the system, we would have happened. Levee goals. And that's one of the miracles and things that we thankful for, that nobody died. The wind by itself should have cost us down, and luckily it did. But that's one of the messages. The other thing that we had in the hurricane conference, that this storm was the 5th most intense hurricane to hit the United States on record. That's amazing. The 5th most intense, and we were in the critical path of the 5th most intense, and we didn't flood. That's an amazing thing. And again, that 5 feet more that we've had since Katrina is what saved us, and we need to keep on improving in those areas that didn't have any problems, because you never know when the next storm is going to hit you. The other thing, as I mentioned, we had more intense storms from 2017 to now than we've had in the last couple of decades combined. So there's something's happening out, we don't know, but that is a big concern. And then the other thing is that all of those storms were tropical storms 3 days before they made landfall. Some people have their evacuation plans, some entities, some government entities have 5-day evacuation plans, 4-day evacuation plans. What he's saying is, you better have a 3-day or less evacuation plan to have a chance to make it work, because nobody's going to evacuate a tropical storm is a few hundred miles away. And yet, when he's saying this, all the powerful storms were tropical storms 3 days before they made landfall. So that was one of the messages he wanted to get out. But again, the forum worked out real well. And again, I just want to show you the alignment. It's very close to what Katrina did. The only difference was when Katrina got south of the mouth of the river, and when Junard, the Worcester storm, hit the tip of Platinum, and then Waving, Mississippi to the east got the worst of it. New Orleans got maybe the winds of a category 2, with all the flood damage that they had. And their flood waters didn't get any harder than our runoff. And again, because the levees held, because our walls held, the thing we learned from Katrina, high walls had some issues. So every high wall that we have been constructing and going back and improved, they have an A-frame behind it. And again, we had our water and everything worked as it did. That was one of the lessons. The other lesson from Katrina's work was at the intersection of forge structures like walls, concrete, and earth and lead. When I say lead, I mean earth and structure. You have more energy there. Well, we actually improved those intersections, and yet still with the improvements with the golden mass, we still have some erosion and some loss. So that's one thing we're looking at working that even more. Now, we didn't lose that area, but we did lose some material all the way to sheetrock at the block. So again, now the one thing that we didn't learn from Katrina, as we said is a problem, was that levees, earth and structural problem. We didn't agree with that. And we have not been building to the new standards, and water got to the top in some places, we slightly over the top, and everything worked. We kind of proved our point. We did a little research ourselves and learning about compaction. The story of compaction was for some levees in Arkansas and some very stiff material. There was pockets where it wasn't solid dirt. That's where compaction comes from. The other thing is the levees for hurricanes were based on river levees. River levees have to hold back water for months at a time. Hurricane levees hours at a time. They never calibrated the difference. So we think already levees are over-designed. And this kind of proved it out a little bit. So that's something we hope we can discuss and find more about. Now, we want to continue to make our levees stronger, but the main thing is if you don't let the water get over the top, you got a good chance of not having to do it. That will force pretty well. All right, you will see in your packets. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. This is some of the work we're still trucking in, and that's another lesson from hurricanes. Don't design or work for the past hurricane. Deal with the issues with the recent hurricane, but the future hurricane might not be that same way. When you look at a hurricane or swirling ball that can hit you from different angles, the way you got hit this time might not be the way you get hit next time. So we're putting a lot of effort in the other places that didn't get hit, that we might have it. And this is one of the ramps we took down to get section F, improve it, bring it up to 13 feet. And we've been working on that, it's worked out well. We didn't have a lot of high water against it, but we do have some concerns about seepage. We think it's not bad, but we're not sure, so we're doing extra work in that area. But everything worked out for this storm. But again, we've been making progress on section F and bringing it up to a full 13 feet. And it's worked out pretty well. Let's see what we have here. We also went on the outside of that. We don't have really a berm on the outside. And the trees were kind of coming in and over, leaning onto the levee and even making it hard for us to maintain with our tractors. So we got our excavator out and cleared out another 10 feet. And we think some of this stuff is going to dry out and make it a berm, a little bit better berm for that area. And it was all people doing that work. They did a good job of gaining that extra 10 feet and getting the trees away from it. And also it stopped the roots from blowing into the levee. Because we're, again, we don't have a berm, so that way we keep that from happening. And again, the contractors did a real good job on top of it. Now, this is the Clovelly pump station. That's not our pump station. We have the Clovelly form. We're in charge of the levee system now, but we're not in charge of the pump station. And the pump station, it's got a little bit hard to tell, but the levee's higher here and here, and it's low in between. We've got some plastic sheet pile, but we're going to go ahead and start talking to Clovelly and see, we're going to maybe encapsulate the pipes with dirt. Now, the reason we got to talk to them is their pump station, they maintain it, and just work out something where if they need to maintain their pipe at certain times of the year, where they can allow them, take the levee off and go work with them on that. But that's one place that we looked at as being maybe a problem in the future. We'll start talking to Clovelly right now. And that's it going for the marsh. Now, this is the area of the Clovelly, the turn, and it's hard to tell with the picture, but we've got the debris off. That's our people got the debris off of it. We had 4 feet thick, 5 feet thick of marsh on the levee over here. And now we have the whole levee exposed, and we have good compacted soil here, and now that we're getting decent sunlight, decent temperature, the grass is going to start growing. This is the borrow area we took it from, and we think we can get that borrow, give it to us again, and in another month or so, or a couple of months from now, we might be able to fix one of the, or improve one of the other segments of probably the actual north-south area on the east side, which is a little bit lower. Now, this is the outside. Again, our people have taken the excavators, moved all the debris off of the levee, and there it is. Now we can have grass growing on here that the marsh was covering. Top of the levee, again, we were damaged. This is where the levee was over top. We had the berm, we had the crown, but the back side, we hadn't had a chance to shape. So we did lose, that's what was the most material, but it still held up even though we weren't even complete. But now it's in better shape than it was before the storm. And that's our goal. The goal is to get it there. And our guys, we also have the contractors, fix the levee, good elevation now, and the backside is compacted in good shape. That's Superior Canal you're looking at. That's the little dock, and you can see still some half of Superior Canal is still filled with marsh grass. That's looking east, and you can see the marsh grass is still filling in our borrow canal. That thing is dug to minus 12 feet, and it's still not going down. Let's fucking see it. And then another view of the marsh grass being gone. Okay, back over there. Same, but again, this is the work on that levee. And let's see. Yeah, this is the one. That's the levee on the right, okay? And right at the intersection between that marsh grass and the levee, that's actually where the water line is. I'm walking out in, I would be shoulder deep in water where I took this picture. I'm walking on that marsh grass. It's not full of marsh, it's packed marsh, okay? And it's hard to tell, but right in here, this is here's the rocks and sheep pile that mark the edge of the levee. And again, I was like 10, 15 feet, and I could have gone further. I didn't take a chance. It's just amazing what that's going to do. And again, the alligator started warming itself up, a little bit more. Yeah, oh, yeah. We also had an electrical problem at pump station number 4. The line coming into the building shorted out. Drive side on it, got it done, we're back in shape. Everything back to normal, right, Greg?
Yeah, we got power back, energy power back, and everything new again.
Yeah, and some of the things that happen, and this is probably a remnant of some weakening that happened during the storm, not that it made a difference, but a little bit of wind later, it did cause some problems. Oh, yeah. It fizzled everything out, but again, we got on it quickly. We had help from the parish. You gotta get a permit, okay, to do all this stuff, even to redo it. But the parish got on it quickly for us, and that allows Energy to come and do the work, and they showed up and got it done relatively quickly. And there's a bunch of burn out stuff. This is the work at the Crawfish Pond flood wall. We've raised the edges, and now this is the middle where the pipes go through. It was up to 16 feet, but it was a design, it was let me call it a cost-effective design. It's a little bit less than what you really would want, but now we're going in and you get a 17-foot elevation, and that is going to be completed in a couple of months. Here you can see this is up to 17, I think, or 18. This is going to go up to a 17 area, but right now it's right about a 7. And you can see that we have these cement piles going this direction and that direction. There was actually a T-wall right here. So it's going to have a lot of sub-ground support and ground washing pile in here. Yeah. Again, that is about 60 feet long. We're going to have that wall replaced by hurricane season. All right. Any questions on slides? Now you can turn to the budget. We talked about the budget. We're hoping to get a little bit of help from the state surplus this year. We talked to CP already. They said they would try to get us some money surplus. But we'll see. And again, this is the budget for the upcoming year. We can always amend it as we see if money does come in. We can adjust it up or down and view the issue. But we have to, this time of year, provide a budget as a deadline before the fiscal year starts. Any comments on the budget or questions? No questions? Okay, we need the board to approve the budget. Any motion?
Okay. With the recommendation of our
Oh, the
general
proposed
manager to approve the budget. Motion by Mr. Ronald, second by Matt. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. Again, hurricane article, we talked about the main message, and our message was when you get a powerful storm, leave, let the system protect your property. We need to keep mentioning that to people, because look, it's great that we haven't flooded since 1985, but that doesn't mean we can't flood. You got it every year. You know, you would think the odds going to be in our favor after Zane and this storm, that next year won't be bad, but you never know. So you gotta, again, listen. It's, again, we have a good system, but it doesn't, there's no guarantee that it can't be over the top. Just to let you know, for Katrina, Waveland, Mississippi, they had a 28-foot storm surge. Okay, I mean, anybody who got 28 feet anywhere from Brownsville, Texas to Maine would have been destroyed. It wasn't about Mississippi, Louisiana thing. So when you have these storms, you just have to go ahead and take them seriously. Another thing too, Hurricane Ida, with all the damage it was done over here, the rainfall it created on the East Coast had billions of dollars of damage just for the rainfall. Just like Katrina, Camille in '69, Category 5 hurricane hits the Mississippi coast, when more people died in West Virginia from the rainfall than they did on the Mississippi coast. Because these storms can do a lot in a lot of different areas. Bond commission approval for our loan. Because of FEMA taking so long to pay its bills, we went ahead and looked at getting a loan. I've CPA and Mary and Amy, well, put enough information that we probably can get on the next bond commission meeting. And then if they go ahead and pass it, and they are working with local banks to provide that line of credit for us. And again, we're trying to get it done where we don't get the interest charged unless we actually take the money and start using it. You know, we're hoping not to. We're hoping that FEMA comes in with the money before we even have to take any money out. But we don't expect that to happen. But we can keep it reduced by doing that. So they're working on that issue. Any questions? No, yeah, we approved it all, just an update on it. Here's the contract for the organs to the Gulf. We're working with our attorney to finalize how we're going to continue dealing with organs to the Gulf that's being constructed inside our district, so that we don't get into the doing our money procedures get so convoluted, not just for the building of the structures, but mostly it's when we have the emergencies, we need FEMA money, then it really gets crazy. So if we can, we're gonna still assist, but we're gonna get the Terrebonne or Lafourche to actually sign the contracts and be responsible, and we're just helping them get right of ways if necessary. Again, our attorneys are working out those details, so we can step out of in that accounting nightmare that we can deal with. Any questions? Not to put this up. We got a bill for $2,000 that we got to pay back to FEMA. And this is a Hurricane Katrina overture. It's kind of talking about how FEMA, you never know when you're going to get stuff. But we need to, just to make sure we get approved to do that. So should get a motion in a second.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of the general manager. Moved by Brett, second by Monty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, and the Levee Board Association meeting is going to be May 56th in Baton Rouge. If you need any details, Mary's going to have that for you. Golden Meadow boat launch lease. We had gotten a lease from Harco Phillips. Originally to build the boat launch, we built the boat launch, and we gave parts of it to the parish. The parish wants to do a few other things, and there is a little bit of confusion about the Harco Phillips, about whether it's us or parish. So let's have a motion to allow us to do whatever we need to do, sign any documents to make a full transfer of that right of way to the parish. The boat launch will go.
All right, guys, you've heard the recommendation of the general manager. Moved by Mr. Ronald, second by Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and Dynamic has been doing the debris work. In fact, I saw a big truck on the levee for the first time in a few weeks, taking some debris out. It's been really dragging on. There's a lot of work at the beginning, but it's been very slow. We had some discussions about it in our executive committee meeting. Talked to Drake about it. We're looking at maybe getting some trustees to come out and finish the job. You know, what's left. It's not a big money maker for them, so they're really dragging their feet on getting that done. So we're moving forward on that, and it's working. It's working out. We also had a request from Dynamic what's our situation with paying them back, and I wrote this letter. It's not in your folder. Basically, we told them we would look at paying them. Our engineers and FEMA has authorized up to $3 million. There were two separate payments for that $3 million, and we're going to wait to see once we get the loan from the bank or FEMA comes up with money into pay that first one, and then we'll see how the progress is going with finishing up the job. And of course, then I'll give it to the board to authorize the second. But if you'll have a motion authorizing the first payment, once we receive.
How much is the first payment?
Is it 1 or 2 million? Okay, 2.4
The
million.
whole thing here is 3
But the whole thing is 3, that's the second payment. But that would be good faith, but only once you receive either the loan from the bank or the money from the FEMA. So authorize us to pay that.
heard the recommendation of general manager to pay the first invoice to Dynamic for, I think it's 2.4 million. Moved by Roland Hural, second by Roland Gidry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Yeah, I just want to mention one other thing. With all the work that we've had, and we had on the hurricanes, with all the claims that we have, I told, Mary's doing the FEMA report, and Amy's doing the insurance report. We got over $1 million in claims for insurance. We've got over millions for FEMA. And I just want to say that they've done a great job. I mean, all this talk to them about what we need to accomplish. I never have to say, well, we stay late to do it. They get the stuff done. Again, we've had some personnel issues in the field. I want to say, there has never been personnel issue in the office. And I can't understand that, especially since they work with me. So, I just want to, again, thank them for what they do, because it makes a lot easier, because it's really complicated, adding on to everything that these insurance and FEMA claims. They've done a great job for us.
Thank you.
We know that.
That's all.
All right, any questions for Wendy? All right, we'll move on, CPRA, Daniel, anything for us?
Not really. I had the project manager for projects here, for CPRA. He gave me a little status update on some of them. Only thing I really have is some projects that we're waiting on some revised plans and specs to review. I have a Section F berm. Also had GIW flood wall and impact protection. These aren't, I mean, it's just, CPR reviews it when they get them. So the other one I had, I think it's further out, is Section E North, which is, I have a note here pending some land rights in the fall or something. So that's it. Just PM says they're ready to go on some plans and specs once they get them. So that's it.
Thank you, Nate. Anyone from the Corps of Engineers? Project engineers, Joe?
So on Section F levee improvements, we have onshore materials. Wendell showed some pictures in the slideshow. They've got about 500 feet of levee left to haul material on. And then they'll be just grading and shaping. That job is looking really good. So they're working from the pump station number 7 at Delta Farms Road and down to the Clovelly farm area. So they should be finished within the next month or so, depending on the weather. We do have a pay request number 11 in the amount of $164,065 even, and we recommend that we pay that.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay onshore materials, pay request number 11, for an amount of $164,065. Moved by Monty, second by Roland Curall. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Yes, on the roads, Ted just cleared off. We've been working on a new design or upgrade of our design for a reverse condition, which we saw some of that during Hurricane Ida. We've completed our design calculations, we're updating the plans, and we're getting ready to submit all that to the Corps for a fund. That's the only thing that they're waiting on to approve our permit.
Joe, do you have any idea how much additional it'll cost?
That portion, maybe only a couple $100,000, but we did revisit our cost estimate recently, and now our cost estimate is upwards towards $25 million. We're initially trying to keep it anywhere between $15 and $20 million, but because of material costs, fuel costs, and the bids that we've been receiving lately. I mean, the bids we've been receiving lately have been anywhere from 40 to 50% above what we were getting this time last year. So steel costs is kind of leveled out, but it had gone up quite a bit. So we're trying to take all that into account, and with our design where we are now, I mean, that's where we're at cost-wise. We're working with Mendel on trying to deal with the other agencies and getting additional funding for the project. On Section D South levy, Outer Limit Contractors, the contractor, he's been excavating the borrow material on the ConocoPhillips Canal. He's had to kind of move in and move out depending on the weather. We're hoping that he's going to start working on our inside berm improvements shortly. He's started to do some haul. We do have pay request number 7 in the amount of $28,865 even. We do have put in place.
All right, you've heard the recommendation of the engineer to pay outer limits, pay request number 7 in the amount of $28,865. Moved by Mr. Ronald, second by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
On E-North levee improvements, that was a combination of onshore and Blake Compo. That project's complete. Wendell showed pictures in the slide presentation. That levee actually looks really, really good. Compo did a good job finishing it out. We don't have any more payouts. We fully paid on that project. The repairs to the Ontario flood wall and the loop flood wall. So Crosby Dredging was in the vicinity of the project, and with their bucket dredge, and Wendell and Drake and I and Ben, we were able to get some prices to move some material from the old bypass channel and place it up on the inside berm of the levee. So as Wendell discussed, we had some scouring on the east side of the Lee Ontario flood wall where the levee was eroded, the mats were blown away during Hurricane Ida. The levee was eroded all the way to the sheet pile. And we also had some really bad scouring at the loop eye wall, which is a little bit further to the east. It scoured back probably about 30, 40 feet on each side. So the plan is we excavated some material from that bypass channel. We placed it up. It's kind of drying right now. We're going to work with the contractor to place that material and restore the levee cross-section at the lock and also at the eye wall. And the plan will be to come in and put some revetment mat and tie it into the structures by tying all the mat together and grouting it in. And then we'll back drag it with some sand and some dirt and make sure the grass grows. We want a finished product that looks like the water lines that cross the levee at the lock and go with it. That seemed to work the best. The way the mat is interlocked together and the grass grows, it held it together. In this case, I mean, there and also the crawfish wall, we had a lot of scouring and those mats were just blown out. But those mats weren't tied together in the fashion that we think we need to do. So.
Yeah, I get the mats, and you can see when you cross, you see the water line and those mats are there, it didn't look like anything happened. And you compare the other, the big difference you see is the tying together was a big
We
difference.
interlocked everything together and we grouted it at the structure.
Yeah.
So when you follow that same technique, then you should have the same results.
That's right. So we do have a pay request to Crosby Dredging for in the amount of $19,000 even, and they were the low bid for that project. We had 3 bids.
You've heard the recommendation of the engineer to pay Crosby Dredging, $19,000. Motion by Mitch, seconded by Roman Curall. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The Hurricane Ida storm damages to the pump stations, the Grand Isle Shipyards, the contractor, they started working on pump station number 4 and number 8. In the next couple of weeks, they're supposed to move in with a subcontractor and start working on pump station number 2. That's basically to close the building in and get them watertight once and for all. And then after that, we've been working with them on submittals for electrical components, and then after that, they're going to start working on electrical items. There's no payout for that project for this month. And the Hurricane Ida storm damage repairs to the main office and mechanic shop. We were supposed to receive bids for the mechanic shop today. We postponed that bid because the couple of contractors that planned on bidding couldn't get pricing in from their subs. The other issue we had was with we were having trouble getting builders' risk policies. It's another problem we're having. They're telling us that the builder's risk policy for a $200,000 building is going to cost them about $30,000. And with a $10,000 deductible. So they were searching for other policies, but I think that's a sign of things to come. So we're going to receive bids on the mechanic shop a week from today. We did finish our plans for the main office, and we got fire marshal approval for our plans for the main office, so we're scheduled to go out for bid shortly.
When do you anticipate final completion when you can move back into our office?
I'm saying 6 months from now.
I want to mention something. I was talking to Joe Orso. He said that there's some money or some legislation or money put aside from Hurricane Laura that if the insurance, there's a big shortfall in the insurance, for the deductibles and just plain shortfall, and there are some funds for that. So that's one thing we'll take a look at and see, once we have an idea if we're covered or not, and if there are deductibles, so there may be a fund in Baton Rouge to help us finish the phase. We're hoping, again, I think considering we consider ourselves pretty well, I think, but it's just good to know that if we do have some shortfall, there's a possibility of getting some of that. And Joe asked me to pass it over here.
Thank you. Questions?
Okay, anything else for Joe? Okay, GIS engineering, Marty.
All right, so the first update is AE supplying Lafourche water retention. We're still kind of in the same position we've been in. The plans and specs are finished. We're working on the servitude requirements and trying to get the pipeline letter of no objections from, we've got 7 pipelines. So there is some movement. Chevron requested a survey of their pipelines, so we're coordinating that effort with them. They'll have to have somebody on site when we go out there. So that should be scheduled for later this month. D-South Crawfish Farm flood wall. So the phase 1, last week the clear lien timeline expired, the 45 days, and the punch list items were complete. And so for today, I do have a recommendation. They have submitted application number 12, and that is for retainage in the amount of $80,200.10, and they've also provided the clear lien certificate to go with that. So it is recommendation to approve.
Who is the contract?
Seawall.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay sea level pay request number 12 in the amount of $80,200.10. Moved by Max, second by Mitch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right. On Hurricane Ida, the only outstanding item we had there was discussions kind of back and forth on cleaning out the sump area of the stretch pump station, and I believe that we agreed that's going to be done internal.
And it's been done, right?
Yeah, it's already been done, it's already completed.
All right. All right, on phase 2, so Wendell had some good photos of the demolition that's already taken place on phase 2. They've taken out that center part of the wall, as well as the discharge pipes from the pump station. And so they have submitted, so that again, this is sea level, and they have submitted pay application number 1. This is for mobilization and ordering of materials. And so that is in the amount of $744,981.12.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay request number 1 of sea level, amount of $744,981.12. Moved by Monty, second by Wilton Guidry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And And then what we're calling Phase 2A, that is the tie-in from the 2 outer walls to the levee tie-ins. We've been working with Geotech to come up with a solution for those tie-ins, and before your next meeting, I should have a report or recommendation on a path forward for that. The next update is D North ramp. So we are officially out for bids on that project again. To date, South Lafourche has done the excavation of borrow pit so that we've got material for building the ramp, and just some dates for you to be aware of. The pre-bid conference is scheduled for March 24th, and then the bid opening will be April 7th. Then next, on Grand Bayou, so flood wall and receiving structure, that portion of the project is complete. On the barge gate, they are currently finalizing all punch list items with the exception of they needed to order a load cell for the opening winch, and that, along with everything else, delivery time keeps getting pushed back, so that should be an April timeline. And then Delta Zeta and Ida, nothing really going on there, just working on any FEMA requests that come in. There. And the next update, reconnection of Breton Canal to Bayou Lafourche. We're continuing with the design phase there. Surveys cross sections have been complete. I guess the construction estimate at this time is about $543,000. And then the last item is Lafourche Lane sinkhole repairs. That was awarded to SBL Construction, and this is also essentially complete. There's just some minor dress-up to be done at the site. That's it.
Good, thank you much. Any questions, Laura? All right, Angela Spiciola.
All right, on the CSOP levee improvements, this is the second levee from the baseball pump station down, or up to the Apache Forum levee. That contract was Granite Shipyard. They're going to be continuing with construction on that project, including the additional change order work that was approved last month. We are going into hurricane season, so we're going to be working closely with GIS construction to get any top work we need to get done first, and then everything else is going to be on the protected side. They don't have anything to do on the flood side. So that flood side area, I think the debris cleanup is getting wrapped up there on a separate contract, and that should be in good position for hurricane season. On the La Rose flood wall height improvements, that contractor was sea level construction. This was from just past the corner of Bayou Lafourche and the intracoastal all the way up to the overpass. We raised that flood wall about 3.5 feet. Sea level construction has completed that work, and we're currently in the clearing period. They're going to be eligible for that clearing certificate later this month, so I'm expecting at the next meeting to have that clearing certificate and their request for retainage. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions? Anybody from Delta Coast? Also, Mr. Smith.
So all south, a lot of it, Mr. Wendell already went over basically, so hopefully we'll get into some debris cleanup or fiasco, whatever you want to call it. Right, so the contractor says about 95% of complete. Well, we believe that. The contractor says that hopefully we'll have a final ride along along the levee this Friday. They contacted our office today about that. Hand crew, we believe they're about 6% complete, walking around. And as Mr. Wynn went over, we have about $3.4 million, something like that, coming in from reimbursement from 100%, and we are working on pushing through the rest of it, which is in the 90%. Other than that, and then we recommended the payment for the first invoice, which you already went over. An update on emergency wheel replacement of Reach K spoil materials. That actually, and the supply and delivery material loss for Reach K. Both those things, the final payment application has came in today, and we hope to process it this week. And then other than that, we have two amendments, well, one amendment and one change order for two projects from Laura. Basically just adding FEMA language that FEMA contacted us. We need this language in the contracts, and that's all it is, just federal language that's already in compliance with it. Just, federal aid laws essentially. And I think that's it.
Appreciate it, thank you. All right, legal permits and right of way, Mitch, anything?
All right, yep, this month we have a total of 8 permits. After reviewing the 8, looking the board to approve.
We did get approval
We have to.
for those
Yeah,
amendments.
both amendments. Separately?
Yes.
Okay. You've heard the recommendation of our engineer and our attorney for amendment number 4, for engineering the contract to include GoSep and FEMA. Moved by Monty, second by Mitch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, now we move to the change order, number 5. The same thing to recruit the required contract provisions for low-land contract. Moved by Mitch, second by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, Mitch.
Okay, we have a total of 8 permits this month. After reviewing the permits, looking the board to approve the 8 permits.
Okay, we have a motion by our chairman of the permit committee to approve all 8 permits received. Second by Monty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Attorney, anything for us?
No, Mr. President.
Okay. Finance committee.
Okay, Mr. President, Finance Committee, I reviewed all invoices and recommend they be paid as presented.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our finance committee chairman to approve all invoices to be paid. Moved by Max, second by Golden Curall. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Personnel committee. Lonnie?
We had 2 positions that are vacant that we filled in. I'd like to make a motion as the Personnel Committee Chairman that when the Personnel Committee gets recommendations from the General Manager, and we went through the due process of advertising and interviewing, that we have the authority to hire at that point, because what's happening is taking the time involved by the time we interview, and then they have to get to their employer and give a 2 weeks notice. There's a lot of time that elapsed, and I prefer it be that we make that decision with the Personnel Committee. We have 3 members on the committee with you as acting ex officio. So I'd like to have a recommendation made that the Personnel Committee be granted the authority to hire. Okay.
Moved by Mr. Ronald, second by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You got it.
That's it.
All right. Any old business? Any new business? No need for executive session. Looking for a motion. Motion by Monty, to adjourn. Second by Ronald. All in favor?